Your comments at a fundraiser this week appear to be the first time in recent memory that a sitting U.S. president has called a Chinese leader a dictator. Did those comments about President Xi undermine or complicate the progress your administration has made in maintaining a relationship with China?
The answer to your first question is no. When we're talking to our allies and partners around the world, including India, we let the idea of my choosing and avoiding saying what I think is the facts with regard to the relationship with India, with China, is just not something I'm going to change very much. I think I believe that, and I've said this for some time, that the hysteria about the relationship with China is collapsing and moving, et cetera. We had an incident that caused some confusion, you might say. But the Secretary Blinken had a great trip to China. I expect to be meeting with President Xi sometime in the future, in the near term, and I don't think it's had any real consequence. I've long believed that the relationship between the United States and India will be one of the defining relationships of the 21st century.
U.S. President Joe Biden on Thursday rolled out the White House red carpet for Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi in a colorful opening ceremony with some 7,000 well-wishers in attendance. After a meeting in the Oval Office, both leaders touted deals on defense and commerce aimed at countering China's global influence.
Our discussions today and the important decisions we have taken have added a new chapter to our comprehensive and a global strategic partnership.
Biden administration officials said sweeping agreements were made on semiconductors, critical minerals, technology, space, and defense cooperation.
India out!
But Modi's visit was not without controversy. A small group of demonstrators were seen protesting near the White House over alleged discrimination against minorities, including Muslims, under Modi's government. Thursday's joint press conference marked the first time Modi has taken questions in such a format in his 9-year tenure. When asked about steps he would take to improve the rights of Muslims and other minorities, Modi said the benefits of the Indian government's policies are accessible to everyone.
There's absolutely no space for discrimination. And when you talk of democracy, if there are no human values and there is no humanity, there are no human rights, then it's not a democracy.
Following the news conference, Modi delivered a speech to Congress and drew a crowd of onlookers who chanted his name during applause lines. The only two Muslim women members of Congress, Representatives Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, along with Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, separately said they would boycott Modi's address to Congress, citing the allegations of abuse of minorities, especially Muslims.
We are seeing now extremely worrying developments where activists all over the world are experiencing increased repressions just for fighting for our present and our future. There's an extreme hypocrisy when it comes to this, that all over the world we're experiencing this, not the least, for example, here in France, just the other day, that activists are being systemically targeted with repression and are paying the price for defending life and for the right to protest. We are now at an extremely critical point. The emissions of greenhouse gases are now at an all-time high, and the concentration of CO2 in the atmosphere hasn't been this high in the entire history of humanity. And we are still speeding in the wrong direction. The emissions are on the rise, and science has been very clear on this, and the people living on the front lines of the climate emergency have been sounding the alarm for a long time.
OceanGate shouldn't have been doing what it was doing. I think that's pretty clear. I wish I had been more vocal about that, but I think I was unaware that they weren't certified because I wasn't really studying it. I wasn't really interested. Stockton Rush asked me if I wanted to go out there and dive this season. I wasn't interested. There was a lot of concern about this outfit and this sub. A lot of concern, even to the extent that I wasn't involved in it because I was making Avatar 2 at the time, but a lot of them got together and wrote a letter to OceanGate and said, you have to certify. You cannot take people down. It's irresponsible, and it could lead to catastrophe. Monday morning, when I first found out about the incident, got on a whole bunch of calls and emails. It's a small community. Within an hour and a half, I had the following information. They were on descent. They were at 3,500 feet. They lost comms and tracking. The last one being the critical one, because the transponder that's used to track a sub during descent and on the bottom is a fully autonomous system. It's in its own pressure housing, and it has its own battery power. So for them to lose comms and tracking at the same time, sub was gone. There was no question in my mind. For days, I tried to run other scenarios that could account for it. I could come up with nothing. So the next thing I did was contacted a few more people and managed to track down, there are acoustic networks around. Some are research, some are intelligence. We got confirmation within an hour that there had been a loud bang at the same time that that comms were lost. A loud bang on the hydrophones, loss of transducer or transponder, loss of comms. I knew what happened. Sub imploded. I sent emails to everybody I know. I said, we've lost some friends. The sub has imploded. It's on the bottom in pieces right now. I sent that out Monday morning. I never believed in that technology of wound carbon fiber, wound filament, cylindrical hull. I thought it was a horrible idea. I wish I'd spoken up, but I assumed somebody was smarter than me, because I'd never experimented with that technology, but it just sounded bad on its face because we make pressure hulls out of contiguous material, steel, titanium, ceramic, acrylic. And so you can model it, you can do finite element analysis of it. And, you understand the yield properties, you understand the number of cycles that it can take. But you can't do that with a composite material because it's two dissimilar materials, sort of bonded together. And so we all knew that the danger was delamination and progressive failure over time with microscopic water ingress and fatigue, what they call cycling fatigue. And we knew that if the sub passed its pressure test, it wasn't going to fail on the first dive. It might fail on dive 7, or I don't know what they're at, but it's going to fail over time, which is insidious. You don't get that with steel or with titanium.